Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of my young friends who I can already see. My name is Neha Mishra. I'm a leadership trainer, and I also am partner with the Epinomy Consulting. Like I always say, some of you have returned for our webinars, and some of you are attending this for the very first time. So, to all the ones who have come back, thank you very much. I really appreciate, that you've been with us for so long, and you keep coming back. And for a lot of you who are coming here for the very first time, thank you very much for joining in. I really appreciate that you've given your valuable time to us at Epinomy Consulting. For the last 2.5 months, we have been doing a series of webinars. Some of them are complimentary because we believe that it is important for us to keep adding value to your lives. Some of them are paid webinars, which are usually the ones which are much more in detail. Usually 3 hour to 4 hour webinars where there's a key takeaway. Sometimes we also do certifications for the courses that we run. All of our trainers are experts in their fields, of course, with various kind of experience, with various kind of backgrounds. We make sure that we keep bringing subjects and topics to you which are valuable, which are evergreen, and some of them which are really fluid and very important for times to come. So, on that note, today we have a webinar on decoding body language for your success in real interactions and in virtual interactions. Real interactions you have been learning in classroom sessions, even if you are a working professional or you are a student. But now is also a key time to understand what aspects to keep in mind when it comes to virtual interactions, because after all, your image is being made wherever you are interacting. People are having and making a perception about you, so it's absolutely critical to be aware of what are the key things that you should keep in mind when it comes to your body language, and also when it comes to decoding the body language of others in business or even in personal lives. So on that note, I would like to invite our speaker, Ms. Ishita Saluja, who is a certified image consultant. She also runs her own image management consulting, and she's with us today. And she's been very gracious to accept our invitation to do this webinar. And from here on, the stage is all yours, Ishita. If I can see you with me, if you can. Oh, wonderful. Yes, I can
Thank you
see you,
so
Ishita.
much for the introduction.
Great, I can see you.
Yeah. I hope I'm visible and I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are. And on that note, I will, of course, let you rule the platform and take over from here, Ishita. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box as well, because it can be sometimes distracting if you're unmuted. So and other ways, whatever you want to, however you want to lead this, Ishita, all over to you.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you so much. So, hi everybody. I am Ishita Saluja from Ishita Saluja Image Consultancy. And today we'll be understanding the basic and the best concept body language. And we have been trained and we have been using our body language ever since we were born without even being aware. So, I'd be sharing my slides with you, and time and again I'd come back where I'll have to explain you to use your postures, how to straighten up your body language, and giving you few examples. So let's start now. And if you have any questions, we can do a quick Q&A in last 10 minutes. So I'll quickly start now, and there you go. All right, so the topic is decoding body language for success in personal and virtual interaction. And like Neha mentioned, that we have been, trained or we using body language in personal interactions, but the time has changed, and it's time we buck up and understand how to use body language in virtual interaction. So in this session, I'll take you through understanding what is body language, why is it important, how we have been using it all through this time, how to have a better body language, how to decode people's body language, and how to be more confident and feel better using body language. So let's start now. All right, so we'll start with the concept of what is body language. Body language is a form of communication. Now, we all know that body language is non-verbal, and what we speak is verbal. It is an element of communication which is unspoken yet expressed. The body language is wordless signals. We've been judging people in a snap based on their body language. And we know when we look at somebody, we decide the person is somebody who comes across as an angry person or somebody who's very kind, just the way they use their body. And these are the kind, what you see on your screens, are the different kind of body language you use through your facial expressions, through the space, through the posture, the eye contact you make, and the touch. So let's start with the facial expressions. We all know the kind of facial expressions we have been using to express our anger, fear, surprise, and we can gauge what expressions people are giving by just looking at their body language. We don't have to tell people, oh, we are happy. When somebody looks at us and we have a happy face, we just know through their body language that they are happy, they're confused, or they're angry. Posture. The posture has been one of the biggest thing in terms of body language. How we stand, how we sit is so important in terms of body language. When I talk about posture, I mainly talk about how much space we are using while we are standing or sitting, or the way we are talking or standing when we are communicating with somebody. We'll come to in the details of posture in the later of the presentation. And then we talk about the space. How much space do we take while we are talking? When we see people, they take a lot of space while they are talking. We automatically start assuming that the person is a very confident person. And you don't have to learn this as a concept to understand if the person is acting more confident or not. The fourth one being eye contact. When we know that the eye contact is such an important aspect of body language, when we look at somebody through a constant eye contact, we know if the person is interested in talking to us or not. Touch. While we hug somebody, while we do our handshake, smallest example of touch would be through your body language is when we look at somebody hugging in a public place, we automatically know if the relationship of a person is a very close-knitted or is more of an acquaintance. So yeah, these are the 5 elements of body language through which we express our body language, and we will understand more of how to use them better through the presentation. Okay, so these are a few common facts about body language. The topmost being, we communicate through our body language before we open our mouth. People judge us. People can decide on us just by the way we are standing or talking. We don't have to do much. We don't even have to speak. You create your first impression through your body language. Your first impressions are the most important impressions. When you enter somewhere for an interview or for some negotiations, they say that the decisions are already being made in few minutes of you meeting the other person just based on how you are using. This is a very interesting concept wherein the way our body language is also impacting our mind, in the sense they say that a red lipstick can change your day completely. That means that when we dress up well, when we look well, when we use our postures well, when we stand and sit tall, it gives a message to our mind that we are much more confident. And that's how it is so impactful. And we should be using the body language the best of our abilities to make sure our mind is in our control. And very interesting. And the last fact about body language, 55% of your communication is based through your body language. That is a huge number of percentage, because 55% means more than half of your communication is just going through your body language. You might be saying something else, your body language says something else.
TV Patna?
Okay, so let's start understanding the concept. So we'll start from the basics and we'll not try to complicate it. So body language is something we have been using all this while. You know, you have been using it through shrugs, through nods, through thumbs up, through rolling your eyes, and the best, WhatsApp emojis. So we all know we have been using these small gestures, or what we call body language, throughout our lives. What was missing was the observing bit. Now we know that these are the language we don't even have to speak when somebody asks you. If you have done, if you know particularly something, you just shrug and say no. When you're listening, you just nod. They're all small aspects of body language, and this is how we've been using it. So there's nothing more complicated to body language, because it's the ability to understand your body language and other people's body language is very easy. It's not very simple, but yes, it is definitely very easy. Also, you can use your body language to create the image that you want, how you want to appear to somebody, how you want to come across. Do you want to come across as humble? Do you want to come across as somebody who's stern? Whatever you want to come across, you can just use your body language and make sure the other person has the right image of you, whatever you want to portray. And when you are reading somebody's body language, it's very simple. Match their words with their action. And we also know this, and we are aware of it when sometimes we ask somebody, are you angry? And the person would say, no, I'm not. By the tone and the body language, we just understand they might be saying no right now, but what they mean is that they are angry just because the way they use their body language. Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes in terms of this. Remember, it's how you looked when you said it, not what you actually said. Exactly the example I gave you before, that somebody might be saying, no, they are not angry, but their body language could be completely different. Somebody might be completely lying to you and be saying, no, I am not lying. But can you guess their body language if they are lying or not? We'll find out. And now we move on to the hot topic of virtual body language. Now, this is the new normal, the virtual meetings, and we'll be living through this for quite a while. I hope not. So, yeah, this is the new normal, virtual meetings, and it is very important to understand how to use our body and be more comfortable while doing this virtual meetings. So, a few quick tips, and understanding them, I'll make you go through them one by one. The first and the foremost thing, do not pick up a busy background. When I say do not pick up a busy background, I just mean that make sure that the environment is neater and quieter. It won't distract you and the other person or the people who are in the meeting with you. Make sure you're sitting in a quiet place with a nice background, so your body language is more calm and composed. Because if your background is also busy, your body language will automatically start looking very busy. So make sure your background is neat, is your background is neat and it's not looking busy at all, so that your body language also comes across neat and sharp. The second tip, and which is the funniest part, like I have attended a few of the virtual meetings, and what I've realized is that people literally are just here in the face of the camera. Make sure while you're sitting, you arrange your computer in such a way that you're at least 2.5 to 3 feet away. Even while you're sitting, make sure only your this upper torso is at least visible while you're sitting and doing a meeting. Not only it is comfortable for you, but it also is easy for the person who's present, who's looking at you, or who's talking to you, because at a distance they'll be able to see your body language, the postures, the space you're using, and they'll be feeling that they are in the same physical space. This is the best we can do right now to be with each other, because we are not going to be in a physical space for meetings for a longer time now. So this is the best way to show that you are there even when you're not. Third, maintain a good posture at any given point. Now, a lot of times we might find ourselves being bored, so we can just start looking through the phones or start slouching or start doing some other errand. Let's not do that. Let's give 100% to this and make sure our posture is absolutely right. We're sitting straight, calm and composed, and trying to understand the best of what we can do through this. Fourth, use your space and hand gestures. This is one of the most important aspects of our non-verbal communication, where we are not speaking but making sure that our hand gestures are enough for the other person to feel that we are as involved as they are. It is very important to use your hand gestures like thumbs up or okay, or even while you're talking, using your space. When you use your space, if you are presenting something, especially during these times, a sales pitch or some kind of a presentation, when you use your space, when you use your hand gestures, it is so important while you're doing this that you use your complete area and you're comfortable. What will happen is that you will appear much more confident by just using this simple technique of using space and hand gesture. Not while somebody is speaking. This is so important at this time of the hour, where again we are not sitting in the same space, we do not get the vibe of each other, but we make sure that the other person is feeling heard while you're listening to a presentation. And if they're able to see you, make sure you are nodding and telling them that you are with them. The next one, try to switch off the self camera. Now, I find it the best because it is sometimes so amazing to look at yourself there animated and keep looking at yourself. It could be a lot of distraction. Try and switch off that self camera so that you do not get distracted and keep looking at yourself. Be aware of your facial expressions. Now, while we're sitting together in our office, we'd be more conscious of how we are sitting, how our facial expressions are. While in a virtual meeting, we can get carried away, where to a point our facial expressions could look a little different. Be aware all the time. Make sure that your facial expressions are absolutely to the sync of what is happening. So make sure your facial expressions at any given point are in your control. The last and the most important that I feel is dress up well. Now, a lot of times we've been looking that people are coming on Instagram and telling us that, that's how they come for their virtual meeting. They wear a very nice formal shirt with the cup, and beneath it, we're just wearing their casuals or their home wear. Now, the philosophy or the science has been saying that when we dress well, we feel well. When we feel well, we act well. And when we act well, we automatically become confident. So while you are trying to give some presentation or you're trying to pitch in something, make sure even while sitting at home, you're dressed up well. And you will perform twice as better because your confidence will be better. So try dressing up well, make sure you have a good posture, have control on your facial expressions, nod while someone is speaking, and make sure you're using your complete space. And make sure you are also away from the camera so that they can see at least to your upper torso and just not your face. So this is the virtual reality body language. And apart from these, before you come for a meeting, make sure you do a little just body language exercise where you move your hands, you move your shoulders, and you are able to, just sit better in a calm position. Okay. Now we'll be talking about the 6 secrets of body language. So now, like we spoke about the different kind of body language we have been using through our different face, gestures, head movements, we'll go one by one and we'll talk about what is the best way to use them to your benefit. Number 1, face. Always have a smiling face during your conversation. Always. That is if you want to appear as more kind and approachable. Also, when you smile, your testosterone levels are high, you feel better, and that's it. Even when you're forced to smile, when you're doing a fake smile somewhere, your testosterone still go high and you automatically start feeling better. So always have a smiling face. 2, gestures. Be expressive. Make sure you're expressive, but don't overdo it. always try to keep your hand movements below the chin. Why is that? Because while we are talking and our hands are moving like that, if you have seen, a lot of people would talk like that. When we look at that, when we talk like that, it just looks very distracting, and also it comes across like you're blabbering, which we don't want to come across as. Always make sure your hand movements are below your chin, and also avoid crossing your arms and legs at any given point. Why? Because when you cross your arms or legs while you're talking to somebody, you might come across somebody who is closing themselves. Also, we call them a low power posture in terms of body language, because it closes you, it makes you feel less confident. Always make sure that your hands and your legs are open, and even if your hands are there, you can just put them by your side if you do not want to move them too much. Head movement. Now, when we talk about head movement, when you want to see also if somebody is listening to you or not, always check their nods. And the best way to make sure that the other person feels that they're listening to you, use your nods. And they call it triple nods, like use your nods thrice and tilt your head. So when you talk, when somebody is talking to you and you nod and you tilt your head and your chin is up, it gives a very good impression of you are listening, and everybody wants to be heard and listened to. So make sure you're smiling, your gestures are perfect, they're expressive, and your hand movements are below the chin, you're crossing your arms and legs, and you're using your nods and head to the best of your benefit. Eye contact. Keep that eye contact through the conversations. Lookers always gain more credibility. Make sure your eye contact is decent enough and it doesn't get over as well. So your eye contact has to be perfect throughout the conversation. Posture. The best way to use your posture is when you lean forward, when you listen, it just gives a very good impression that you're making an effort and the other person understands that you're listening. Always relax and expand your shoulders without getting into a dominating position, and make sure that you're using your space while you're speaking. Territory. Know your personal space. Always keep a safe distance. While you're talking to a boss, your colleague, or your family member, you know the people who are around you. So make sure you're always using your space while you're talking to them. People, but usually it's a good idea to stand at least 2.5 to 3 feet away while talking to your colleague or your boss. Mirror. Mirror people's body language to have a better rapport. When I say mirror, always make sure that you're trying to copy their body language, especially while negotiating or in an interview. It gives them a signal that you are listening and watching carefully. For example, let's say if they have moved their arms or if they have moved their legs, try and mirror them in a similar position. It is one of the best techniques to negotiate and win a good interview. So these are the 6 kind of attractive body languages that you can use and keep using them till you actually become perfect in them. And the picture you see below of a man who has closed hands, and on the right hand side you see a man with a Superman pose. The other person, the person on the left seems more uncomfortable and not too confident, but the other person on the right seems very confident because he's using his space. So make sure you always use your space and you're using your communication, which is unspoken, the best all the time. Now, how to decode other people's body language? And this has been a question that we have heard from over and over, that how do we define that what other people are doing without them talking? Now, we all know that everybody is saying something. The first step to this would be, always remember, read in cluster. When I say read in cluster, it'd be as simple as, let's say, language English, where one word could mean several words. Let's say the word dressing. The word dressing could mean so many things. When I say dressing, I could mean dressing up, or dressing could mean a salad dressing, or dressing could mean could mean dressing a wound on your hand. So when I put the word dressing in a sentence, I understand completely what the word dressing means. When I say I need to get the dressing for my wound because I got hurt, I understand now the word, they were in cluster, what exactly the word dressing means. Similarly, when I look at people, I can't judge them on just one body gesture. Let's say scratching the head. Now, scratching your head could mean so many things. Scratching your head could also mean that you have dandruff. Scratching the head could mean that you're anxious. Scratching the head while keeping my hand on the other arm could definitely convey confusion. So understand the most important rule of body language is remembering the cluster rule. Learn to read that smile. Now, there could be different kind of smiles that people are giving. But remember, a real smile will go to the eyes. When I say that, I mean when somebody is actually and genuinely giving you a smile, you can see them in their eyes because the pupil will dilute. So real smile will not only dilute your pupil, will also crinkle up the skin. And the smile, sorry, will also crinkle up the skin around your eyes. So remember, when you see somebody smile, don't only see that smile, but see that eyes too. Are they mirroring you? So during any kind of negotiations or understanding people, if they are really interested in what you are saying or the kind of negotiation you're making, is a way to understand, are they mirroring you? Always be an observer. Just don't listen. Just don't listen to the words that they are saying. Also look at their body language and understand that, are they mirroring? Are they nodding? Are they leaning forward while they are talking to you? These are great signs of telling that somebody is interested in you while negotiating, while interview, while meeting somebody, or anywhere. Mirroring is one of the best concepts to understand if somebody is interested in you or not. Are they anxious in your company? How do you know if somebody is anxious in your company? Again, read that in cluster. The man you see there sitting with his finger on his face, closed his arms and legs, is not only anxious but is completely saying no to you in whatever you are trying to tell him. He has not only closed himself but also covered his mouth, which is a sign of being anxious and being just disagreeing to what you are saying or what they're saying. Um, are they really listening? When somebody listens to you, they'll always nod, they'll always lean forward. So make sure that you are making sure that you are being listened, and you know it when you not only listen to them but you're also observing their body language. Now the next part is really interesting, which says how the legs are pointing. So for this, I'm going to stop the slide share and I'm going to give you a quick example how to understand this. Okay, so yeah. So when I say how the legs are pointing, is a very quick and a fun experiment. So while we're talking to somebody, we usually not look at their feet, but now next time when you talk to somebody face to face, notice their feet. You can't see my feet, so I'm going to demonstrate my hand as my feet. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and that's how my feet are, that means I am completely in you and I completely want to listen to what you're saying. Wherein, if one of my foot is facing the other way, that might mean I want to listen to you, but I'm also interested in what's there. That means the person is only there in a half-hearted conversation. Wherein, if I'm standing sideways and both my feet are also pointing there, but only my torso is a little tilted towards you, that means I am genuinely not interested in what you're saying or what you're trying to sell me or what you're trying to negotiate at, because my interest is right now moving away. So always try and look if the other person has their feet towards you or not. Read their facial expressions. We all know how to read facial expressions. Read that smile, look at the eye contact, understand what their face is telling you. Maybe they're not telling you that. We all know how to look at an anxious face. we all know how to look at a surprised face. Always remember to read in clusters. Use all these techniques. It's not going to come in one day, but of course, you have to be more observant. You have to be more vigilant of what other people's body is saying. It's just that we live in a distracting world and we've really forgotten now that how it is that other person's body is talking. We only want to listen. So now next time when you go out, write these points down somewhere and make sure you are making them all together and observing their body, not only their words, because their body will tell you much more than the words. Now again, this has been very popularly asked and spoken about, that how do you build rapport and make first impressions through your body language. Now, it's not really a huge deal when we go to meet somebody and we are very, very anxious, and we'd keep fidgeting and we'll keep fixing something or the other. The first and the foremost rule for this is learn the art of mirroring. Forget what you are doing. Make sure you are mirroring the other person. I've spoken about this in the before pointers, and I'm repeating it again because this is one of the most important aspect of your non-verbal communication is mirroring somebody. Make sure you're mirroring them 100% if you want to win some negotiation. Look confident. How do you look confident? Own your space. Stand tall. Keep your hands loose by your side and open up your chest. This will not only make you look confident, but this will make you feel confident. And later in the slide, we'll also talk about how can you be more confident, which will also help you make your first impressions even better. Happy self-talk. Now, before we are going to some place where we know we might be a little conscious or we might be a little more self-conscious of what we are doing, give yourself a happy self-talk. Talk to yourself positively. Tell yourself you're confident. Do not sit, especially in an interview. Do not sit while you're waiting with slouchy hands, with low body postures. Make sure you're telling yourself that you look confident, you feel confident, and you're not going to be anxious about anything. A happy self-talk can change so many things, not only your body language. Relaxation exercise. So again, I'm going to stop the slide share and I'll show you some relaxation exercises that you can do before entering an interview, or if you're meeting somebody for negotiations or for any other purposes. So even you can use this for your virtual meetings before you start your virtual meetings. So these are called some body language shoulder exercises. Just stand, take in your space and move your arms from close to open. Move your shoulders from back and front. Make full rotations. Nod your head to left and right. Take them in a full circle and make sure that your chest has opened up. This is a brilliant exercise, and do it for like 1 minute and you'll definitely see a change before you go in your virtual meetings, or even before you're going to any important meeting in a physical space. Be a good listener, which is an art we have forgotten. So let's be good listener, and if you really want to show you're listening, even when you're not, maybe, always nod thrice. This is a nod rule, nodding thrice. Lean forward, tilt your head, and do not use low power body language. Low power body language is anything wherein you close yourself, you hold yourself, you hug yourself. Always open up. That is the best form of body language, the high power pose. So these are few tips and tricks to understand how to have a better rapport and make better first impressions. Now, gaining confidence via body language. There's this very famous professor in Harvard called Amy Cuddy, and has also given a huge TED talk back in 2011 and is still relevant. I call it an Amy Cuddy rule, wherein she says 2 minutes tweak can make big changes. How do we make those changes and little tweaks so make sure that we are feeling more confident? Again, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'll show you what is a power pose. Okay, so one, when we stand, we need to find our base posture. How do we find our base posture? Is we stand shoulder width apart, close our eyes, and move our hands on the top. And once we do that, put our hands down. This is your base posture. This is how you're supposed to be standing while giving a presentation, maybe while doing some public speaking. So top A rule is to feel more positive is find your base posture. Two, a high power pose is something like this. We call it Superman pose. And then the third one being this. Now this is the most commonly used high power pose all across the world. Now people who are even blind, when they win some physical race or some activity, the first thing that they will do is this. This is what I call it is a super high power pose, and we use it often to express our will. So while going to a place where you are feeling underconfident or it's an interview, the power poses will help you increase your testosterone and will make sure you're acting more positively. And if you want to go back and check Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, it's a brilliant TED Talk, and she explains beautifully that how we need to practice the art of high power poses to become a confident person in real. So now that you know of it, try this now that you're at home every day or every alternate day and stand 2 minutes in this high power poses. I'll show you more high power poses that you can practice wherein you take more space, wherein you show your winning position, where you do the Superman, Superwoman pose, and you feel much more confident in your mind, and that's proven in science. So use high power poses even before going to an interview rather than sitting, closing yourself and using your phones. Make sure you go to a washroom, take some space, and use super high power poses to win that interview or that negotiation. Now, these are a few more of power poses that you can see. The top ones are the high power pose, which make you feel more confident, takes more space. Even animals use it. If you look at all the animals when they're gonna hunting or anything, they stretch themselves, they take more space because that's how you feel more confident. So these are a few poses which are called the high power pose, which make you confident. And the low ones that you see are the low power body language, wherein you close yourself, and they usually make your mind feel that you are not confident, you're not happy. And these are the ones which we use when we are upset, especially the third one. The third one is the lowest low power body language pose that you can use, where you touch your neck, it makes you uncomfortable. So make sure you're always in high power body language, always, even if you don't feel confident at that time, because that only will make you feel more confident. Okay, these are the few quick tips and tricks. Avoid upturned palm. Always talk like that. When we are talking like that, it shows off a better body language. Keep that eye contact. Keep the movements of your legs and arms in control. Make sure they are open and not closed. Our mind tends to think that we are not going to take what the other person is saying if we close ourselves. Even if it is not being defensive, we might be feeling cold, but our mind doesn't know that. Our mind might end up thinking that we are just being closing to whatever is. So make sure you open up and you stand with on your base structure that I've told you. Keep your mind in control at all the times. We might feel fidgety, we might feel anxious, but the key to everything is controlling your mind. Your mind will tell your body will tell your mind. So keep them in sync and make sure that it is in control at all given point. And now the best one, how to find out if they're lying to you. And a lot of people who work on body language are asked this question. Now, there's no 100% answer to this unless you're an FBI agent, but we can read some signs together to understand that if somebody is lying to you. So these are few quick 4 things that you know that if a person is lying to you or not, but you have to make sure you read in clusters. You have some base information about that person and the background. Like if you're sitting in a situation, you already have a little information about that person who is lying to you, because an unknown person lying to you would not make sense either. So make sure you read them in clusters, which is the most important part in this non-verbal communication. Somebody who's lying tend to rub their eyes a little more, like they'll just keep touching their eyes, or they'll keep touching their face, and or just covering their mouth. They'll keep excessively cleaning their throat, like and notice the eyes carefully. When I say notice the eyes carefully, I mean to say is, are they making too much eye contact, or are they not able to make eye contact? As kids, when we used to lie, our parents used to say, look into the eyes and talk. That's because that's one of the signs of a liar, that they will not look in the eyes. But now that the liars know that not looking too much in the eyes is a sign, they have started looking in the eyes. So when somebody is also looking too much in the eyes, could be a sign that they are lying to you. So make sure you read in clusters, and if they're rubbing their eyes, or they're touching their face too much, covering their mouth, hiding themselves, sitting in a low body power position, and everything together, there might be a sign that they are lying to you. But it is so important to have the base information about the person that you're talking to. Now, there are few things to remember here, which are baseline is extremely important. When I say baseline, the understanding of the person that you are judging or meeting, it is so important that you know that what is the background of the person while you are judging their body language. You can judge their body language without even knowing them, but making huge assumptions or saying that they are lying to you or not is important to have that baseline. Believe in your intuition. Sometimes their body language might be saying something to you, but you have to understand your gut also. While reading in clusters, while having the baseline, make sure that you are using your intuition. And like I said before, be an observer. We have been listening and listening and listening and getting distracted, but it's time we start observing and we start looking at people's body more than what they are talking. Because remember, 55% of communication comes through just their body language. They might not be meaning what they're saying. Use power positions. Make sure you're using power positions every now and then, so that you're more confident, so that you are more observant, so that your testosterone are always high and you're feeling much more confident. Also, pay attention to your own body language at any given time. At any given point, you want to make sure that somebody feels that they're being listened. Use nods, tilt your head. You want to make sure that the other person knows that they're talking to. When they're talking to you, you're interested. Mirror them. Use your legs facing use your feet facing their feet. So make sure you're using your body language to the best abilities. Walk happier, smile more to look more approachable and happy. And the best, dress well. When you dress well, you feel well. And when you feel well, you feel much more confident, and it just shows in your body language. Because sometimes it's also just about how you feel, and it changes everything for you. That's about it. Do we have any questions here? Is Neha there?
Hi, Ishita. Yes, I am there. And in fact, I would, that was fantastic. And I will, of course, have save my praises for you. But before that, let's look at questions.
Okay.
Shivani had if you can look at the chat box,
I will.
Shivani had a question in the beginning.
I missed on the point where she talked about matching your words with the face. Okay, so Shivani, it was a very quick thing where I mentioned and I gave an example that is important, that when somebody is talking, their body language, their facial expression is also in sync to what they're saying. When given in a small example, wherein when we ask somebody, "Are you angry?" and they say, "No, I'm not angry," we clearly know that somebody is angry right now, because clearly their facial expressions and their tone doesn't match their body language. So yeah, that's one of the way to make sure that you are looking at the facial expressions while somebody is talking, and see if their body language is matching with their tone or what they're saying. Do we have more questions?
Okay, great. Um,
Let's see.
so maybe if anyone has questions, you are most welcome to unmute yourself and even put on your
Yeah.
video if you can. And if you can't, if you're not in the right space to put on your video, you can absolutely unmute yourself and ask your question, guys. We'll give it a few, maybe a minute to listen to your questions. And if not, then I already have a few questions with me, which people have asked in advance. Ishita, I can start asking those questions.
Neha, I have another question.
Yes, please, go on.
Um, Hello. Yeah, hi. My question is, for example, if there is an interview going on and there are 4 to 5 people in the panel, so if it is a virtual interview, how are you going to greet them? I mean, like, are you going to greet them individually, or like, collectively? Is there any way to wish them or greet them?
Okay. Hi, Shivani. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Shivani, there is no short way. Be comfortable in whatever you are doing. Make sure you're sitting upright. Make sure your posture is absolutely confident. You can greet if there are couple of, let's say, if there are 5 people in a panel. I wouldn't necessarily say hello to everybody individually. You can just say hello everyone. And if there are just couple of people, let's say 2 or 3, depending on your comfort level, you could also just address them individually. But of course, if there are more people in the panel, I really just think that you should just say, greet them collectively, and you can go ahead. But make sure your the body language and your posture is upright and straight.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Most welcome.
Mayur has a question, Ishita.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, I just read. Can you elaborate on the eye contact? Of course, Mayur. So like I spoke that, there are many expressions that we use to communicate through our eyes, through our face, and eye contact has been one of the most important body language, because when somebody is looking right in the eye, we know that they are interested in what we are saying and talking. On the other hand, it is very important when you are talking to somebody, you make sure you have a decent eye contact through the time, so that they feel more comfortable. It's very important in a conversation to use the right kind of eye contact. You cannot overdo it and make somebody uncomfortable. You don't have to walk, you have to look, you have to make eye contact in a way that the other person feels more comfortable. And also depends on the situation where you are. But yes, at any given situation, eye contact is always very important. You cannot escape that. All right, Mayur.
All right, we don't have any question as yet. So guys, I'll give you another 5 minutes to think of a question. Until then, Ishita, I had 2 questions for you. I think one you very well included already, which was about lying. One of our participants asked that what's the signs of figuring out if someone is lying, or for others to figure out if we are lying. That you very well covered. Then we had Abhinav. Abhinav, are you still with us? If you can ask your question directly to Ishita. Okay. So, Ishita, I'll ask this question from you. So, Abhinav said that most of the time when we are meeting power positions, or when we are meeting in personal life or in professional, when we are meeting influential people or people who we know are decision makers and important ones, we automatically tend to get nervous. So how much ever we are confident otherwise, when we are in front of them, we try to get nervous. We try to show a little bit of hand gestures, which we know that they are not in favor of us, but that we end up doing that. So how can we be more conscious of that, and how can we avoid doing that, especially in front of power positions?
Okay, so it's a very good question. And also, when I spoke about first impressions and building rapport, I spoke about two, three things which can help. Abhinav, I hope you're listening, you're there with us, which can help you, making sure that when you're in a place where you know that somebody is at a higher position as yours, um, like I said, make sure your mind is in control and you do a happy self talk. That is very, very important. B, try using power positions the next time you're going in a place like that. When I say the power position, like I mentioned, using your space, go to an area where you know you can just do the winning position, or use your superman or superwoman space. This is a proven fact that people who use higher body language, higher power positions body language, tend to have better results and control on their mind more when going in a space like that. So I think the best answer to that would be, try having a happy self-talk next time. Be aware, be conscious of how you're moving, and the best way is to be more confident is using these power positions or power postures that I have explained. They really do work well. I've tried them in interviews. I've tried them while going to place like this, where I have just made sure that I have used my space enough before going in that space, and I automatically start feeling more confident. Also, it's a practice. You keep practicing these power positions, like you keep trying it till you make it there. You'll automatically start feeling more confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Ishita, there's one more question by. Okay, great. So Abhinav was listening to us. He just thanked you, Ishita.
Thank
And
you, Abhinav.
Mahesh has a question. If you could read it.
Hmm. Where is the question? Mahesh. It's said that fate of an interview is decided the first few minutes itself by the posture of eye contact. The fate of an interview is actually not only based on eye contact, but also by a complete body language. I've been talking about how it is a cluster. It's not only eye contact. We just can't use our eye contact to get through an interview or deciding our fate. Of course, your content is also important, but yes, they say your first few minutes of your interview are very important because of how you're using your body language. So it is true, it is very true, but not just the eye contact, how you're standing, how you're sitting, your facial expressions, if you're closing, if you are slouching, all these things together can make a person pass a judgment on if they'd be, if you'd be taken in the interview or not. So yeah, it is true, but not just for eye contact. Again, the cluster.
Wonderful. All right. So Shrishti,
I
I
hope
just want to
that's good,
sorry.
Mahesh.
I just want to answer to Shrishti. Shrishti, yes, absolutely. You can hear the entire recording on YouTube. We will share it on our LinkedIn page. I have given you the details. If you can follow the LinkedIn page, you can get all the details from there. Thank you very much. Okay. So Ishita, I'll take the opportunity of asking this one question that came to me for you. And that is,
Yeah.
does body language changes
I'm
with
not able to hear
cultures?
you.
One second. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So does body language changes with cultures?
Of course it does. Sometimes, this sign means something else in India, whereas in Japan it means something else. So of course it changes, but the small gestures and, like hugging, a concept of hugging, which is so prominent in India, it is not really relevant, in European world where people are not very comfortable hugging each other. So yes, these small gestures, they do change culturally, but more or less how you're standing, your eye contact, your posture, they will remain same. But how you're using it as a in personal interactions, or handshakes or hugging, all these things will definitely change culturally.
Fantastic. And the last question that I have is, what actions are threatening?
What actions are threatening? Okay, so threatening. When you say threatening, all right. So for the first and the most threatening would be invading somebody's space, like knowing where to stand and what proximity of somebody is very important, because sometimes again it is very culturally, it is very important to understand that what could be threatening for what culture. But yes, if you invade somebody's space too much, if you while you're negotiating, especially, and sorry, while you are negotiating and you are leaning a bit too much, these could be very threatening signs in terms of body language. But more or less, if you, I think, maintain the space and do not invade somebody's people, you are good to go.
Okay, great. I think that's a great insight, and that's all that I had from my side. I I think, is there one more question? Let me just see. Okay, so I think that's all, guys. I can give you one more minute. If you have any questions, please put it across, because now, yeah, oh, wonderful. It's perfect 6. So if you do not have a question, then we can end this webinar. All right. Okay, so there is a lots of thank yous for you, Ishita.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So on that note, Ishita, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this and we thoroughly learned a lot. I'm sure the participants did. And thank you for standing there for us for so long.
That's the right body language, you see.
Right, absolutely. Great. And this also reminds me a little bit to our classroom sessions. I really miss the classroom sessions. And, so thank you for that. I think just very quickly, Abhinav has one. Okay, this is
Does
a thing which we can take now.
does pointing a finger at someone also, it's not really a threatening sign, it's more like a power. When you're in a power, or when you're angry, you use that. You see a lot of politicians using that. Of course, it's not one of the best signs to be used while we are having a communication, but yeah, it's not really threatening, but it's not the best way to come across while you are in a place where you're negotiating or you are having a good conversation. But of course, we end up using such body language in anger or while we are at an authority. Yeah. So not threatening though. But yes, it's very strong. When we put a strong opinion, we use our fingers. We point fingers.
Great. On that note, thank you very much, Ishita. Guys, you can absolutely check her profile out on Instagram if you're considering. Today, we have a lot of students who joined us, and I know most of you are very regular on Instagram. So if you want to do that, you can check her profile out at Ishita's. Can you just mention your Instagram
It's
handle?
Ishita Saluja Image Consultancy, and you can follow me on the page. And if you have any other queries regarding body language, you can always connect there.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Ishita, thank you very much. Very much. We are really grateful for you to give us your time.
Thank you so much, Neha, for having me.
All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, and my young friends, we are ending this conversation. Please connect with us. If you have any more questions, you can write an email to info@epinomy.com. And if you want me to connect you to Ishita, you can absolutely drop a message, and I would do that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.